Crate Blue Voodoo amp. The complaint is one channel has a very low volume and the other channel hums terribly. I don't know whether this is the cause, but it's certainly not good. I haven't powered it on yet. I did a visual inspection. And this amp, like a lot of cheap amps, has two jumper wires that are supposed to be underneath this screw and washer, pressing them against the chassis, and that's a ground connection. There's one here and there's one at the other side of the amp. And beneath this washer, this jumper wire was broken off. So there's a intermittent, at best, ground there. Now, in theory, I would want to remove the entire board and replace these jumper wires. And you can see where someone had done a little bit of reinforcing in the past on a previous repair. And while that is not my preference, first of all, the owner of this amp is really impatient and wants his amp back tomorrow, whether I've fixed it or not. One of those guys doesn't seem to... And in fairness, from his perspective, he dropped it off at the local music store. You know, it's a good and bad thing that the guy doing work at the local music store is both very, very good at this, if I can say that in all modesty, and very, very busy with a backlog. So what I'm going to do to try to keep the repair bill low, because it is, after all, a Crate Blue Voodoo, and speed this up. Get this off my bench, back to work, hopefully, out of my life, because I don't need any Crate Blue Voodoos, quite honestly. Is I'm going to reinforce that with some fresh bus wire soldered to itself, clamp that screw down, and hope that it holds long enough for it to be someone else's problem. There's just not much I can do without pulling the board. To do this amp properly would probably exceed the value of the amp, and seems to be exceeding the patience of everyone involved. So I'm trying to make this solid as possible. Given that it's an imperfect concept of how to do a ground, if I can get it so that it works, that might be all that's necessary in this case. Now, the one at the other end of the amp did not have a broken wire. It was just slightly to the side. It had gotten pushed out by the washer when it was last put in place. So that one I'm just lining back up, and I carefully tighten everything up and hope that I can get it right the first time, because really there's a lot of torque in this kind of approach added to fairly small diameter bus wires, never designed for this. And what I'm doing here doesn't look very pretty. And it's not the quality of work that I ascribe to or aspire to. But I have more than doubled the strength and surface area of those wires. Let me move it around a little bit so I can get the screw in. And then I will reinforce, once it's being held, really being held in place, I'll reflow solder at the end there. All right, before I tighten it, before that washer really makes contact, let me give it a squeeze, kind of make sure it's all underneath. Like I said, this is not how I'd like to do this. This will likely do the job, though, be at least as good as factory, cost less than doing it properly, and if the owner gets this back tomorrow working with a relatively low repair bill, then we are all happier. I don't like that wire that they use there. I'm going to see if it's even necessary now that I did that. If it is necessary to have that jumper there, then I'll do it with some bus wire, not that stranded stuff that has no, see, that came unsoldered beneath. Someone just tack soldered C61 on there. I see what they did. So this is someone else's crappy work. And that might also be part of the problem this amp is having. So let's see what I can do to make that mo better. Let me do a little J hook here beneath this lead. I don't know what the other side of C61 is. This side is obviously ground, and the other side is what it is, and it's just barely hanging on. And that might also be part of the problem this amp is experiencing with the channels. I don't know. I've not looked up the schematic for this. You know, I'm debating whether to even put this up on the channel because it's not the kind of work I like to do, want to be associated with, etc. But sometimes trying to force some solder down there. Try to make sure the other side of the C61 is there. Sometimes you just do this kind of stuff. You get an amp in that you don't really want to work on. It's debatable whether it's worth working on. All right, now that I look at that, that cap C61 is not that crucial to the amp. What it's doing is it's just going from the input of the jack to ground. So that's just rolling off a little bit of highs at the input. That won't have, if that comes loose, it's not the end of the world, pardon me. Redo the ground at the other end. Snip off this bus wire so I don't have a big bit of metal dangling where things could get electric. Power it up and see what's going on with the channel behavior. All right, channel 1 is working just fine. So that hum is gone, and that hum would have been caused by that bad ground. But if I go to channel 2, very low volume. So that could be a lot of things. Could be a bad Vactrol. Had to get disentangled with the cables, the mic and the guitar. Could be a bad Vactrol, could be a bad component. Nothing visibly looks bad. But the first thing I'm going to do, it might be a bad JFET, might be a JFET done for muting. I may have to look up the schematic for this thing to have a better idea. But the first thing I'm going to do is take some voltage measurements at the tubes. See if I can suss out which tubes are used for what. If I can find which tubes are only used for the high gain channel, then I can see what those voltages are. If we got something that seems off, we can save some time. All right, I'm going to change out V3 and see what happens. I've not run into a circuit where a 12AX7 is going to have 6 volts on the plate and 3 volts on the cathode. And this is in fact a JJ ECC83. So let's get another one I got handy. Stick it in there and see what happens. See if I can do it left-handed upside down. Don't try that at home. All right, as that comes up. Whoa! All of a sudden we got some level, don't we? It sounds like it's working. And it's noisy, but it is a Crate Blue Voodoo, and I was not asked to make it sound great, just to get rid of the hum on this channel and to make this channel loud. So, done. Footnote to that Crate, the tube glow you see in these things is caused by these LEDs. Pure marketing BS. That sound you might hear in the background is my eyes rolling in my head.